The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions of WBGR Network. Any questions or concerns about what is said should be directed to the show host, whose information will be provided upon request.
Twist. It's a sexy lady who walks around without being shady, who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you feel me? That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist.
Hey, it is your girl Tasha, known to the world as the Tasha Carpenter, but everybody calls me your girl Tasha because when you hang with me, what? It is like you are hanging with your girl. And we are in the studio today, guys. Again, it's that time of the year where you got to get educated about who you want to vote for in the election. So we're going to open up today because I'm ecstatic to have our guests in here today. We actually have Gladys Weatherspoon, who's running for Prince George's County Circuit Court Judge. Welcome, Ms. Gladys.
Thank you so much.
Is it okay to call you Gladys?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you guys know that my favorite word is bam because I'm always being authentically me. And you know when I be authentically me, I tell everything. She's nervous.
I am a little bit nervous.
She's nervous, but that's okay. We're going to make sure that she lets you guys know why she is a candidate that you should be casting your ballot for. Now remember, I don't endorse anyone, but she doesn't even know this. I am qualified to give you my vote or not. So
Okay.
based on what she shares today, it's going to let me know whether or not I want to vote for her and also hopefully do the same thing for you. So if you know somebody that lives in PG County, Prince George's County, correction, they don't say Montgomery County, Prince George's County, share and invite with them if you're not in our county. But make sure we want people to be educated voters in this 2020 election. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So
I'll convince you by the end of this show.
you going to convince me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, did y'all hear that? She said she's going to convince me. I'll never let her know. Okay? Thank you for sharing in Chicago. I appreciate you. Thank you down in Waldorf for sharing. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Terrence. As they said, hit share and invite, share and invite, share and invite. Okay, so tell me about Gladys, the person. I want to know about, family,
Okay.
where you started at, all that great personal stuff.
Okay. Gladys, the person, was born in Washington, D.C. at the Women's Hospital in D.C.
Okay.
And in April 19, 1964. So I'm 55 years
Oh,
old.
she done gave us the whole address.
I
Women don't
no-
tell their ages. Oh, she done gave us everything. Can we
I
give
have
us
no
some?
shame. No.
Okay.
I have no embarrassment about that. I'm the youngest of 9 children. My parents were immigrants. I went to school in D.C. first. I went to Bancroft Elementary School. Then we moved to Maryland. I went to Blair High School. Then I went to the University of Maryland. And then I went to the D.C. School of Law where I got my law degree. I was 30 years old. And what I did was I started late when I went to law school. So I went to take the bar in Georgia because they let students take the bar.
Uh-huh.
So I took the bar in Georgia my 3rd year of law school so that I could be a lawyer by the time I turned 30 because that was just my goal. I have to be a lawyer by the time I turned 30. But I never practiced there. Then I came right back home and practiced in D.C. and, in Maryland. I'm now married. I have several stepdaughters, elevator daughters I call them, and I have a dog named Shakira.
What? Shakira. Oh, wow. Look, I done thought about Shakira the singer. What is the elevator daughter?
It's a stepdaughter that you love more than just a stepdaughter. So I call the elevator daughter Rush to My Heart.
Oh, y'all hear that? All right, I'm going to go home and say, baby, you an elevator baby. Okay? All right, thank you for sharing, Miss Johnson. I appreciate you and everyone who's coming on. Hello, Douglas Joyce. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so now that we know who Gladys the person is, we're gonna go ahead and get to know more about you as a professional. So actually, you mentioned that
Excuse me, I got it.
you mentioned that you had an aspiration to become a lawyer by the time you're 30. So tell me about what current duties that you actually perform in your position.
Right now?
Yeah, what do you do now?
Right now, I have my own law office. It's the law office of Gladys Weatherspoon, and I practice criminal law, some civil, but mostly criminal, defending people. I really believe in defending people's rights, and I represent defendants in protective orders.
Okay.
And that's basically the most that I do. Before that, I worked at the Public Defender Service in D.C. for 10 years. I was the deputy trial chief for some years, I think maybe 3 or 4 years. And before that, I worked at a union for about 2 years. And that's it. I've just been working, defending people or dealing with low-income people, just helping people since I became a lawyer, which was always my goal.
Okay, so let's go out a little bit reverse from what you just said. So what union were you a part of?
I worked for Local 25 Hotel and Restaurants. I represented their members, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
My mother, it's interesting, I actually have a picture of myself with my mother's union button from that Local 25 because she worked at a hotel as a banquet waitress, and I still have the picture of me with my little union button. She said, "You insisted on wearing that thing for picture day."
Okay,
so that must have given her the first hint that I was going to be a fighter.
So you might not know that I am a vice president of a local union as well.
Oh, really?
I am.
Okay.
I am. So okay, that's good. That's a positive thing to know. Union people are great people, whether y'all agree or not. They're wonderful people.
Union people are great people.
Now, before that, you said that you had wanted to become a lawyer at 30. Oh, no, you mentioned that you were a public defender in D.C. Mm-hmm. How did you find yourself having an office at a firm in Maryland?
Well, as I was in the public defender service for 10 years, and then I got married, mm-hmm. and I really believe that you should work where you live, particularly when you're doing that kind of work. Because the first thing out of people's mouths is, you helping people get out of jail in D.C., then you driving your butt to Maryland and getting away from it. So I feel like if I'm going to defend people to help them either get out of jail, get less time, be back out in the community, that I should be comfortable in the community with them. So I just started my own practice within a year of moving into Prince George's County.
Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper, because you also mentioned that you had a goal to become an attorney at the age of 30.
By 30, yeah.
Okay, by 30. By 30.
Yeah.
How old were you when you became one?
30. I just made it.
She was right on time.
I was right on time.
By 30. So give me the background. How do you find yourself? What was it that sparked your interest in becoming an attorney?
So I was in the 8th grade, and there was this kid named Terrence Johnson who got arrested with his brother stealing from a laundromat. And during the process of his arrest, he managed to get an officer's gun. And I think he killed one and maimed the other. And my memory is now fading me. But he certainly shot 2 officers with one of their guns. And being from a family of 9, I remember specifically that we were all sitting around. It was one of the things that we did do was have dinner all at once, and my father was in an uproar that this kid killed these cops, and everybody was on the same bandwagon. And I said, I wonder what happened that made him do that.
Okay.
And then I just kind of followed it. And his attorney was someone named Attorney Mundy, and I loved him, and I just started following him, and I wanted to be him. And that's how it started.
Okay, all right now. That's a good history story there about how she got started. Now, once you started studying for it and you was going through school for it, did you find yourself ever having any regrets for taking that path?
No, I was going to say I've never changed my mind. When I was in law school, I did the clinics that involved criminal law, even juvenile. My first trial was in law school. And it was a juvenile case, a UUV, and we won.
All right.
Unauthorized use of a vehicle in D.C. But that was my first trial. And I've never changed my mind. I think that as long as things are the way they are, that I'm going to stick with this path of helping people and fighting for people's rights.
Okay, so explain that a little bit more. You said as long as things are the way they are. So how are things?
Well, we're having a difficult time. Well, now we're having a real difficult time with bad arrest, people getting shot in police cars, bad searches, and people not knowing their rights and not knowing how to handle the situations. And I just think there's a lot of, I've received a lot of cases that I've won because of the lack of evidence, because of the way people were arrested, because of the way people were treated, because of the lies people were telling. And so that's why I kept doing this work. I never wanted to change and do something else until now.
Okay, all right, and we're going to get to that until now. Here. Now, Gladys, I'm going to tell you, I think that people that serve in any kind of position that represents other people have to have a servant type of mindset. Mm-hmm. So outside of your firm or your position as an attorney, what type of servant things are you doing outside of that?
Well, I'm a board member for Women Walking in Their Own Shoes. It's a corporation, charity corporation here in Prince George's County. We help women in the community. We've now adopted 2 schools in Prince George's County. Please don't ask me what schools because the names have escaped me. And I also, and people have seen me on Facebook every year bugging them for money, sleep out for the homeless every year, because I think it's a crisis that we need to work on. We shouldn't have homeless people. It just shouldn't happen. So, and this particular event is called the Sleep Out, and it's really about homeless teenagers, which we really shouldn't have homeless children. And so every year I bug all my friends to donate money so that I can sleep out and contribute that money to homeless people.
Okay, and how many years have you been sleeping out with the homeless?
I think this is going to be my 9th or 10th year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while.
All right.
It's always around Thanksgiving, so it's really cold and the morning dew really gets to you.
Okay. We have a Corey Weatherspoon saying, "You are so awesome. Much respect."
Oh, thank you.
And
thank you.
We have a Tiffany Washington that says, "I support you and your cause 100."
Thank you, Tiffany.
Tiffany, drop for me why. Why do you support her cause? Let me know. Douglas Joyce says, "Hey Gladys, I'm in D.C., but I'm asking all my Prince George's friends to vote for you."
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And they love the idea that you are sleeping out with the homeless. OT Kanye says, Mr. Joseph Tolbert says, "Hey." And Michelle Ford says she wanted to know the why of the situation before just jumping on the bandwagon with everyone else with your reason for deciding that you want to become an attorney. She like that.
Okay.
She like that. Okay. Know the why before. Just don't jump to a conclusion. Know the why.
Yeah.
Why did this happen? Okay. All right. So that's good stuff too. So. I'm sure that you're aware that a lot of people find that they feel that local races are just totally irrelevant, and it doesn't mean anything. If you're presented with someone that's saying that, why should somebody care about voting for a circuit court judge?
I think it's actually one of the most important races because even though the legislator makes the laws, judges are the ones who interpret it and make decisions about how to handle things. And I think it's one of the most important races because these are the people who are deciding who's going to go home, who's going to stay, who's going to be detained, and all other things. It's not just criminal. I mean, I focus on criminal because that's what I've been doing all of my life. But the truth is that it's the same thing when low-income people come into court and try to sue somebody, but they don't have the right words, they don't have the right lawyer. All of that affects people. And these are the people who make those decisions about how to run a courtroom and make decisions about how to deal with these low-income people. When Spanish people come in and can't speak English and they get frustrated, or if they think that everybody in the courtroom should be brown and black and the white person shouldn't be there, which I heard one judge say once, all of that matters, and that's why these races are important. It's great that you vote for president, but really, when you think about it, the president is just signing at the end. We also have to remember, I put a tape up on my Friends of Gladys Weatherspoon. He's explained this a lot better than I do about what each legislator, what each branch of the government does. And it's great to come out for president, but it's also very important to not forget your local elections, including your judges. I mean, you keep complaining about the same old thing, but you're not going out to vote to make a difference as who is the judge.
Okay, now Miss Tiffany Washington wants to point out to everyone that Attorney Gladys W. Spoon just spoke on the injustices in the criminal justice system. Right is right all the time, no matter who you are, no matter what social, economic status, color, gender, sexual orientation, etc. And she also wants to share that public servants, the criminal justice system, such as police officers, have a direct impact on the community. We have Miss Michelle Ford from St. Charles checking in. She said, I was raised in Prince George's County, but I now live in Charles County. I was surprised to learn of the large homeless community here. Glad you are doing something about that in Prince George's County. Latasha Renee Ward said the local races are important because they decide how we live in our communities. And let's see, we have a framework posse saying it's my understanding that Maryland has the highest incarceration rate of black men in the United States. Is that true?
That's true. I just read that myself. I didn't know that that was true. I just saw that in an article, and yet I'm not really surprised. Having been in this, watching the system for the last 15 years, I'm not surprised. I have repeatedly in D.C. as well seen cases where I have the same case as somebody else who's either of a different race or a different economic status, and they get treated differently, everything else being exactly the same, and they get treated totally different.
Okay, absolutely. Now, you mentioned that some people find it only important to vote for the president.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of people that feel that it's not important to vote for anything. They feel that their vote do not matter, okay? Many people believe that going to the polls is simply a waste of time. So what I want to know from you, either it might be important only during the general election, not the primary election,
right,
or only in a year when there's a president,
right,
or not at all.
Right.
If you have someone that comes to you and they say that to you, how do you respond to it?
Okay, I'd rather not say that. I think it's irresponsible not to vote in your local elections. There's no way that it's not going to affect you one way or the other. So, and it's important that you do it. It's a lie to convince yourself that your vote doesn't matter. The people who usually elect a person in office are the people who stay home because they didn't come out to vote. Had they come out to vote, they would have made a difference. And so they're actually affecting the election. Okay,
you heard it from her. She didn't want to say it, but she said it. It's irresponsible for you not to vote. Not just an election, not just in a local election. It's irresponsible for you not to vote in an election period. And I'm gonna tell you something that I've been thinking about too. This is coming from your girl Tasha. Get mad if you want to get mad. I think there's something that's equally as irresponsible is going to the polls when you're uneducated and just picking names because, this name sounds like it's a brother or a sister or, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, whatever it may be. That is irresponsible to pick people by that. So you have to get educated. And that's the reason why I am having candidates come on the show, because when you go to the booth, I'm also an election judge, okay, in Prince George's County. When you go to the booth, I don't want to see, some people don't even look at it. They just color in circles and they be done like in 10 seconds. And it makes no sense, okay? So just a reminder, we got early voting going on Thursday, April the 16th, 2020 through Thursday, April the 23rd. And that's from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. People say they don't have time. That's a lot of days that you got to go, including a Saturday and Sunday, to get your butts out there to the polls and cast your ballot. And if you missed the early voting, you also have the primary, of course, which is April 28th, 2020, and that's from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And in 2020, we got to turn out the vote, okay? Turn out the vote. I'm talking to everybody. I don't care who you are. You got to get out and you got to vote, okay?
And the vote for the primaries for the judges is very important, because if you don't vote in the primaries, then if I don't get on the ballot if I get on the ballot in the primaries and you don't vote enough, then I just won't get on the ballot in November. You can't just ignore it and say, I'll just deal with it at the general election. It'll be too late. And then you'll be saying, oh, why didn't we get that woman in who was saying she was a defense attorney? It'll be too late. You need to vote in the primaries to get me on the main election.
Exactly. And Tiffany Washington said voting is the right that our ancestors fought for us, okay, especially for our black and brown community, okay? It's a right for us to vote, and this is not about race. Okay, but we're pointing out a lot of us died. A lot of our ancestors died to get us the right to vote. So let's get out and vote, okay? And Tiffany Washington says, amen to that, Tasha. Tell them people to research their candidates. We can't be up in there going eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Right.
Okay? Anywho. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and keep on talking about the circuit court judge.
Okay.
Tell me more about what actually do they do. There's different judges, right?
Right.
So particularly the one that you're interested in, what are the responsibilities of a circuit court judge?
Well, the circuit court judges, there's two courts, right? There's circuit court and district court. The circuit court judges handle the more difficult or higher end cases. You know, anything that requires a jury, I would say, is the easiest way to explain it. So, in district court, you have your misdemeanor cases where you don't get a jury, you have a bench trial, a judge makes the decision about those cases. In circuit court, you have a jury trial, whether it's, again, criminal or civil, and they handle those cases. They also handle the appeals from district court, and they do family cases. They handle the family cases and wills and estates. They do other things, but the main things that they handle is civil, criminal, and family, all of which we all need to be involved with, and want somebody to be compassionate about us when we go into the courtroom.
Okay, and you said that your background was in criminal cases?
Yes.
Okay, so when someone looks at the civil and the family aspect of it, how are you able to contribute to that?
Well, I have done family cases. I'm just saying my main focus has been on criminal cases. And the reason my main focus has been on criminal cases is because that's where the most injustice is. So I spend my time working on what I think needs more work. But the family cases are also in there. I think this is very important too. In family cases, men keep being satisfied with just getting or being pushed to believe that it's okay to just get visitation on the weekend. And the truth is that if you have a child, that you should have access to your child and have custody of your child too. And that's one of the things that happens in circuit court. A judge makes that decision. Are you good enough to take care of your child? And it can't be automatic, which normally it seems like to most people. It can't be automatic, well, this is the mother, so they get to have the child, you get to visit on the weekend. And that's the kind of things that I've been working with as well. I've represented a lot of men in family court, trying to get them either custody, fairness in divorces, and in protective orders.
Okay, so I agree with you. There shouldn't be a cookie-cutter approach to deciding who has custody of the children,
right.
Whether it be mother or father. So what type of things do you think should be considered in those cases if you're going to grant custody to one of the parents?
I think it should start off with the assumption that it's equal, and then start deducting if things are not equal, right? So if everybody has a job and everybody has somewhere to live, and the only difference is income, that's not a reason for you to have custody and the father not to have custody, or the father to have custody because he makes more money and the mother not to have custody. So it has to be about what's in the best interest of the child, and it doesn't just mean just because it's mom or just because dad works more that he shouldn't have custody of his child. So I think it should be equal as long as there's no negative factors that have come in to change that number. So rather than trying to figure out who's best, I think we should assume that everybody is equal and then figure out if there's something to consider to change that.
Okay, now you have a framework policy is questioning whether or not someone can register to vote on your website.
Yes, you can. There's a link on there to register. You have until April to register. Please register to vote so that you can be at the elections and cast your ballot.
Speaking of websites, to the control room, I am not seeing any information in the lower thirds. Can we get up the candidate's name and her contact information, please? Thank you. Okay, so back to...
Thank you.
back to it. You know, I'm going to take a commercial break here. We're going to go ahead and break to commercial, and we're going to come back on the flip side and change a little direction of the questions at this time. So we'll see you guys back on the flip side.
All right, Rookie, what you got for me tonight?
Multiple cases of drunk, drugged, distracted, and drowsy drivers picked up. Meet Andy Carmichael, age 25, drunk driver. Statement says he'd attended a friend's Halloween party after hours of drinking heavily. He left to get more drinks.
Book him.
Meet John Smith, a.k.a. Mr. Distracted. Statement reads, ran a stop sign, ran a red light, caused a crash.
Well, this guy needs to keep his head in the game.
Meet Jane Goodman.
Grandma?
Jane thought a few extra pills would be okay. She said she just wanted to sit pain-free before her daily dose of Jeopardy.
That ain't cool, Grandma. That ain't cool.
We have a suspect picked up for falling asleep at the wheel. Meet Charlie Knight, a.k.a. Drowsy the Clown. Statement reads...
Statement reads creepy as...
After a hard day's work, Charlie was exhausted and chose to get behind the wheel.
I hate clowns.
All right, what do you think, Chief?
Don't be like these idiots. Drive like you give a
I made a mistake. And before I realized that it was too late, I was swerving in and out between two lanes, but I didn't expect anybody's family to be in any true pain. I could have put the bottle down. I was in a daze, so I'm kicking it into full throttle now, but now somebody's mom is feeling trauma because their baby can't be coddled now, so she can't get her baby back. I didn't think I hit the bottle that hard. It was like baby taps, but now I got a murder attached to me. A few little sips turned everything around me into a travesty, so do everybody a favor. And stay sober on the pavement to prevent another tragedy. Because the last thing we need is more casualties. So drive safe. Because it's not just your life. It's everybody's life that's at stake.
I'm Aisha Braveboy, State's Attorney for Prince George's County. One life is too many to be lost to unsafe driving. So join us in our campaign. Drive focused, sober, and safe.
Hi, I'm Keith Willis, former NFL player, businessman, and now venture capitalist. As a longtime Prince George's County resident, I understand what our community needs. I encourage you to vote for Gladys Weatherspoon. She's been fighting injustice for over 25 years. She's very compassionate, she's very fair, and she understands humanity. She sleeps out with the homeless every single year. She's a board member for Women Walking in Their Own Shoes, which serves women for whatever their needs are. She also educates the youth on a proper law enforcement to make sure our youth stays protected. Vote Gladys Weatherspoon for Prince George's County Circuit Court Judge.
This message has been approved by the Friends of Gladys Weatherspoon. Sylvia Brewer, Treasurer.
Hey guys, we are back. I was looking down. You know, I don't know what's going on with the control room. They ain't even let me know the commercials is ending. That's all right. Y'all know how your girl Tasha is. She do not care. Look, I was reading some of the comments here. Mr. Nick Johnson says that I'm late to the interview. If you have not already mentioned it yet, please stress also to folks to see to it that their elderly neighbors who need rides to the pros get there. Thank you, Nick. Definitely.
And also, Lyft is giving rides to the polls. So you can call a Lyft and they will give rides for free to the polls.
Okay, grab somebody, kidnap somebody, get them to the polls, okay?
Don't kidnap
all
somebody.
Right?
They don't have to stay on my job.
That's all right. The attorneys will take care of you. Look, now Michelle Ford also pointed out that family court judges also need to do better at what's better for the children and not who has the bigger house and the paycheck. There are judges in Prince George's County that have done that. Sounds like she has first place experience with it. Hey, Belinda Queen, school board, I see you on here. Thank you. Guys, you can call in if you have some questions or comments as well, too. The number is 301-429-9247. It's also on the screen behind us underneath for the TV as well. So let's go back to, I think that there's about 24 positions, 24 active judges in Prince George's County, if I recall correctly.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay. How many seats are up for grab?
There are 5 seats. So the governor has appointed since the last election, and up till Christmas was the last time he appointed somebody to circuit court judge. He's appointed 5 judges, and they all have to run in the very next election, which is this one. And I want one of those seats.
Okay, so he has, because see, that's something that's confusing for people. Okay, I'm gonna act like you guys act. Some people don't understand that they're appointed, why they have to run for their position. And so if they were appointed, maybe the position came available before the election, so they've been actually sitting there in a position.
That's exactly what's happened. He appoints them, and then at the election, and what normally people don't run against the sitting judges. It's almost unheard of. And so what happens is we all just go in there and it'll say, if it was this year and nobody else was running, it would say 5, pick 5. And then we have no choice because there's 5 there and we're supposed to pick 5. Well, now you have a choice. I'm number 6. I'm Weatherspoon, so I'm at the last name, and I always say vote with the end in mind, with what you want in the end in mind. And I'm at the end of the list, Weatherspoon.
Okay, so she's at the end of the list, guys. You heard that. So let's go with, since you brought up appointed or seated judges. Some people really have a problem, as you pointed out yourself, that a lot of people just believe that the appointed judge should be the ones to get the position. In fact, I was looking at it. There's actually a group of people. Everybody has a group of people, right?
Yeah.
There's a group of people who actually fight for getting the sitting judges reelected. One of their supporting reasons, we have a call. Calls take priority. We'll be right back with the question. Hanging with your girl Tasha, who's calling, and where are you calling from?
It's Joseph Tolbert calling in, a.k.a. OT. What's going on?
What's going on, Mr. Tolbert? What question does you have for candidate Weatherspoon?
No, I just want to say, man, that I fully support Miss Gladys Weatherspoon. I've talked with her on several occasions. She's real. She's down to earth. And I believe that she would give justice to all of Prince Georgians. So I need everybody to vote for Gladys Weatherspoon.
All right, y'all heard it. Mr. Tolbert has spoke, okay? How long have you known Miss Weatherspoon?
I've met her over the summer of last year, and we've had some conversations. We've also did some youth engagement together, meeting with the youth, at-risk youth, and holding some meetings with them, some rap sessions with them, and she's real down to earth.
Okay, so that's another way that she's giving back to the community. Thank you so much for calling in, OT.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. That is another way I've been helping. I've been doing seminars called Know Your Rights. As a matter of fact, there's one in Laurel coming up on March 21st. And it's just a time where we talk about how to handle yourself when you're stopped by the police. And to be clear, that's criminal defense attorneys and people who do these. Doesn't mean that we love crime. We just want whatever happens to be fair. And if you're stopped, that you live to tell about it and you get to go home. And so we work on how to handle when you're stopped by the police and not have to go home and still not to give up your rights.
Okay, well, while we're on that topic, then give me like a quick, maybe like within a minute or two, some of the what you think is most important tips that a person should know about
when you get
their
stopped
rights.
by the police?
Yes.
Okay, so when you get stopped by the police, people think that, well, first of all, people think that just because an officer speaks to you that you have to talk to them. And the first thing that people should know is if it sounds like a request, it means you don't have to talk to them. So, hey man, can I talk to you for a minute? Is really, that's a simple thing to just say no and keep going. People don't have to stop and talk because officers are asking you to talk. But usually when people are stopped is in a car, and when you're stopped in a car, the only thing you're required to do is to give up your license, registration, and your insurance card. And I have to say real quick, this is not legal advice. I have to say that. I don't want anybody to say Gladys told me to do this without further discussion. But those are the three things that you have to do. Give up your license, your registration, and your insurance card. And no need to answer any further questions. A lot of times when you're stopped, the reason officers are asking you questions is to just get a feel for you and find out what else is going on. So where are you going? Where are you coming from? You know, how long you been there? And those, again, questions that don't have to be answered. This is very hard for people to do because they get scared. But the real answer to those questions is, I just don't answer questions. Well, why don't you answer questions? I just don't answer questions. And leave it at that, because once you start answering questions, you end up on this rolling hill of telling more of your business. You have the right to privacy. You don't have to answer people questions. So that's the biggest thing, that you just have your license, registrations, and insurance, and that's it. Now, look, I've had a friend who actually was said, well, if you're not going to tell us, then you're going to have to get out of your car and wait while we call. If you don't give us permission to search your car, then you're going to have to get out of your car and wait for the dogs to come. And those are the times when people say, okay, well, just do it, because they're scared.
Wait for who to come?
Wait for the dogs to come sniff to see if there's something in the car and all that. And those are the times when people get nervous and just say, okay, just do it. But the answer is still no. There's no reason to have people search. If they're going to do something, let them do it. And let them do it as long as they want to do it, but not with your permission. Just say, I'm objecting to this. I'm not giving you permission to search my car. I'm not giving you permission to search me. And you do that to protect your rights.
Okay, so how would you respond to it? They say, well, if you have nothing that you're guilty of, why is it an issue?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, y'all heard it. Recommendation, not legal advice. I don't answer questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to talking about the circuit court judge and how the governor appoints certain seats and things of that nature. First of all, how long is the terms?
15 years.
15 years, okay. So these seats are open because they ran out. Nobody just got up and gave away their position.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. It was 15 years and they decided to walk away. So these people.
Or somebody got sick, or somebody, died. I mean, anything could have happened. Somebody moved on to bigger things. I don't.
Well, it's just very serious. Is another reason why I think that you have to pay attention to these type of seats being available, because they're in those positions. 15 years is a long time for someone to be in a position. So that's another reason why to take voting for your local circuit court judges seriously. Now back to the whole thing, the group of people who fight for getting sitting judges reelected. One of their reasons that they say that they support sitting judges getting reelected is because justice requires experience. Okay? So with that being said, what is your experience and how do you believe it compares to the experience of any sitting judge or any other candidate? Well, you're the only extra candidate that's running solely based on electability.
Okay, I think there is another candidate running, but my answer to that is, I think most people say they want the sitting judges because they've been, because of their experience really doesn't really match, because frankly, a couple of those people who were appointed, one person only did wills and estates and bankruptcy and didn't have the courtroom experience, couldn't compare to my courtroom experience at all. And she got appointed. And I think another judge did some work in Bethesda, some law firm, some big firm, and there was a paper judge, a paper lawyer. I will say that most of the people appointed were worked for the state, or they were prosecutors. I think one was a prosecutor for a time, and I'm not sure. But my answer to that there's 5, and for you to just blanketly say, okay, I'm going to support the 5 without knowing about each one of them it's lazy. I mean, really, why are you just supporting the 5 just because they were appointed? Look them up. Find out what they're about. Is there really somebody there that you think should be a judge or shouldn't be a judge? And consider if my experience of 25 years of fighting in that courtroom, because I heard that one of them said, we got vetted and she just signed up. I didn't just sign up. I signed up 25 years ago is what I tell people. I signed up 25 years ago when I started this battle against injustice. And I signed up every day that I go to court to fight bad arrests, bad searches, and bad warrants. So I didn't just sign up. This vetted thing just means that they're interviewed by other lawyers, other organizations, and they write down on a piece of paper, yeah, we'd like that person to be a judge. Well, I'm asking you to vet me. Go do my background check, because that's all that means, that when they got vetted, that somebody did a background check on them, and they talked to a lot of lawyers and a lot of different organizations, and they agreed that they would be a good candidate. So I'm asking the community to vet me. Look up my background. I did my work so hard in criminal defense work that I've been detained, locked up by judges for fighting so hard for justice. So that's what you have to look at. Is this somebody who's going to take care of the community, or is it just the same old people? 5. I mean, every time I think about it, it's 5 of them. It can't be that you're just blindly supporting 5 people without any more information. Oh, I'm getting off my soapbox. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, you jumped over to another question I was going to ask, so I'm going to go back to that one a little bit later on. Okay. We have a Sean Michael Wilson is asking, can you speak to how long the sitting judges have actually been sitting?
They've been appointed in the last 2 years, except one. Judge Surratt this is her second round, so she's been on the bench for 15 years, and she's going for her second round. And I know that Judge Bariano.
So you could do your 15 years and run again?
And then you run again. That's the only way.
How many more times can you do that?
I guess until you're just too tired.
Oh, okay. All right, so it's not like a 2-year term like the president?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, so she can go again, and so she's running again. And Judge Bariano was in district court before he was appointed in December to circuit court.
Hey, Joy Jackson, thank you for checking in. And Sean, thank you for checking in. Everybody, please share and invite. We have a question from Capitol Heights, Maryland. Ms. Andre Johnson wants to know, why can't people sue the judges when they make bad decisions that end with a child being hurt?
Oh, I don't know the answer to why, but can you imagine if every time a judge made a decision that something didn't work out, they would be sued? It just wouldn't work. I mean, you could probably make a bar complaint about them if the decision was, somebody thought was negligent and made absolutely no sense. And I remember a case here where a man really wanted his child, and the judge kept saying no, 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 and gave him to the mother, and she ended up killing him, and I don't remember their name. And she ended up killing the child. And the father was just devastated. He wanted his son, and the only difference between them, it turns out it was more of a difference because she ended up killing him, but the only difference in them two was that she was the mother.
Okay. Now, Latasha Ward said to check your record. And how do they go about checking your record?
You can go to my law office webpage, which has all of my history on it.
Can you give them that webpage?
It's weatherspoonfirm.com. weatherspoonfirm.com. It has all of my history on it. You can look up my name on Maryland Case Search, and you can even look me up in the paper, because like I said, in the Washington Post, and you'll find the article where the judge finally locked me up. I mean, I've been working hard for service and for justice.
Okay, so I had heard that rumor about that you got locked up.
Okay.
So more than that, can you go? Are you at the liberty to go into more details about how this turns into you getting locked up?
Yeah.
It said judges. You've been locked up more than one time.
I've been locked up twice.
Okay, so give us a little bit about that.
Well, the first time I got locked was my first trial ever in life. It was literally my first trial. And it was Judge Suda at the time. It was in D.C. It was a juvenile case. And I believe that the prosecutor was holding on to evidence called Brady. And Brady is evidence that is favorable to the defendant. And she didn't give it to me. And while we were in the middle of trial, I said I didn't get this Brady. I needed to defend my client. And he told me to sit down. And I said, I won't sit down. And he told me to sit down again. I said, I want to make my record. I just wanted to make my record so that the Court of Appeals would be clear about what I was doing if he turned around and convicted my client. And he wouldn't let me do it. So the next thing he said was Marshall, because I wouldn't sit down. And he wasn't going to let me make my record. And the marshal took me back, and my poor client took me back. And then I wasn't married, and he said, Miss Joseph. I said, what? He said, are we all going to jail now?
I said,
no, it's going to be fine. We actually came back. Well, as he was sending me back, he said, do you want me to call your supervisor? I said, I don't have a supervisor. He said, you don't work across the street? Because I didn't work for PDS at the time. And I said, no. He said, well, you sure act like it. And I think he just wanted a timeout for both of us. He left me back there for about an hour. We finished the trial, and he acquitted the client. The parents didn't even stay because they thought they both in jail. So when I came out, they were shocked. So that was the first time.
Wow. How would you do if your attorney ended up in jail? Oh, my goodness. Okay, and the second case?
The second case was an adult case. It was a murder case, and it was also in D.C., and the judge wouldn't let me make my record. I think that's the big thing. He wouldn't let me make my record. So every night what I would do would write down what I would have said had you let me make my record. And then this is a long time ago, I would fax it over. So y'all don't know what fax is. I would fax it over and put it on the record the next morning. So if I had said objection 4 times during the trial, then that night I would go home and write, this is what I would have said. But he said approaching the bench was a privilege, not a right. And I had to make my record for my case. And then on the last day, it's so weird because that day I don't wear pants to trial. And that day I said, I'm going to wear some pants today because I think I'm going to get in trouble. I had just had this feeling that I wasn't going to back down today. And I walked in, and I said, did you get my objections? And he said, yes, I think that you keep doing that. It's absurd. And I said, well, what I think is absurd is the way you're treating me. And so he said, what did you say? And I repeated it. And he said, Marshall?
Okay.
So I took off my earrings, took off my strings on my shoes. They sent me to a cell. I went back there and started singing Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen.
Okay, would you do anything differently?
No. I
all.
believe if you're going to fight for people, you have to fight and know that that's a possibility that could happen. I mean, ultimately, do I really think I'm going to spend, a week in jail? No, I think it's going to be resolved. So, no, I wouldn't. I'm not embarrassed by that. I know that some people have tried to make it an issue, as in I'm disrespectful. No, what I am is hard. I'm a hard fighter for my clients. And if we're going to go down, the last thing you're going to say is she didn't fight for me.
All right, y'all heard it right from her. Okay, now back to Ms. Johnson's question about there's some comments that came in regarding why can't judges be sued. We have a Don Choice who actually believes it would work as long as it was actually a good case. And Don Chico says suing judges is actually needed. We have more racist and sexist judges than ever now. Alonzo Wiggins says, I'm anticipating great things from you, your addition to the bench. Good luck ahead, Gladys.
Oh, thank you, Mr.
Also,
Wiggins.
we know just how special John Suda was.
They remember who it was that put me in jail. That's exactly who it was.
Oh, okay. I was like, who is John Suda? I don't know. Okay, all right. So, all right, let's go back to, you spoke to that they could go to your website and they could speak to your to learn and vet you. Now tell me, did you apply for the vetting process? Did you go through the process?
I didn't.
And for what reason didn't you do that?
I don't know that there's been one other defense attorney appointed since I've been here, and this governor, I don't know, has ever appointed a defense attorney. And what I was told, frankly, is if you want to be a judge, you have to be a prosecutor first. Well, I don't want to be a prosecutor. I have no interest in prosecuting people, and if that was the only way I was going to be able to do it, then, I literally was people were really saying, go for it, just go be a prosecutor for 2 years. I couldn't stomach it. And so if that was the only way that I was going to end up being a judge, then I just wasn't going to do it. And then I realized, somebody said, no, you can just run. And so I decided, well, then let's not go through the committee. Let's go to the community. So here I am.
Okay, so why do you say that you couldn't stomach being a prosecutor?
Because of the way the system is right now. It just has not been fair for so long. And as long as it's not fair, I couldn't do it.
So as a union girl, I'm a union girl, and we always have people or members that want to complain about the unions. So I'm going to equate the unions to being a system.
Okay.
And when I have people that come to me in the union and they want to complain about, well, I just think the union, my dues are not being used the right way, or all this kind of stuff. Well, we always tell them, instead of complaining about the problem, be a part of the solution. So I'm struggling with understanding why you would think that you can't stomach being a prosecutor, knowing that there's maybe feeling that there's some type of injustice going on. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that so that you can be part of the solution to make sure that people are being prosecuted fairly, to do your part of the picture?
People have said that to me a couple of times, and I just have learned from several prosecutors that you really didn't have as much power as you thought to do that. And so to be a prosecutor for 2 years wasn't going to put me in a position to do that, to say, okay, we're going to dismiss all these cases. That really would be my job. You kind of have to follow the rules of that state attorney, in D.C. of the United States Attorney, and you can't just go around dismissing cases or changing the rules, right, or deciding who not to prosecute. And so that's my reason. I know people have said that, and if it got better, then maybe I would. But if I went over that side, well, how many defense attorneys are going to be on this side to protect people? There'd be one less one who's really willing to fight. I'm not talking about just a defense attorney who's just willing to, what I call, escorts to jail. I'm talking about people who really going to fight.
Okay, so your girl Tasha, bam, being authentically me.
Okay.
And what I think that some viewers expect from me, kind of what I'm hearing with that is that in some sort of way you're not up for the challenge.
Why are you saying that? I'm totally up to the challenge of being a prosecutor?
No, well, yeah, because you said that you've been told by people that you really can't do what's right. They limit you in some kind of way.
Right.
So even if they limit you in that, that's the reason why I can't stomach it, because somehow it's like they pull the strings. So what would happen if you find yourself in a position as a circuit court judge and someone decides that they want to try to limit you?
But the judge has the ultimate decision, right? So that's a big difference between me having a supervisor telling me as a junior prosecutor, you can't make this case go away, you must prosecute this case. As a judge saying, I don't see the evidence here, so I'm going to dismiss this case, or I'm going to grant the defense motion for judgment of acquittal and end this right now, or I'm going to not even send this to the jury and find him not guilty.
Okay. There was something else that you had said. It's probably going to pop back in my head in a few minutes with that. So Michelle Ford said, I love that she stands her ground to defend others based on what you shared. They complain about the union. They run to the union when they need help, and they don't want to do a part of the work. That's absolutely right. Michelle said, great question and point, YGT. Yes, you have to be BAM, being authentic
You
with
have
me.
to be BAM. I have no problem with that.
Because if I feel that way when I hear it, I have to give you the opportunity to redirect, because I guarantee you that there's other people that are hearing that. I guarantee that there's something that your opponents would try to hop on as well, too, you know.
Right.
Is she trying to get in the position because she thinks it's an easy position
Oh,
to
I
have?
don't think it's an easy position. I think it's a hard position. But I also think that when you're being a prosecutor, every bit of power is different. And what you can do as a prosecutor, no matter what you say, is limited. And I think that as a judge, I would have more control about what happens in the courtroom and how to change things.
Okay, so in that, speaking to that point, what do you perceive as your biggest challenges that may come with the position, should you be elected to the position?
My biggest challenge?
What do you think might be some of your biggest challenges in the position?
My biggest challenge probably would have to be in not being overly sensitive to every person that walks in, and getting used to having to make harder decisions where the things aren't as black and white. Like, it's easy for me now if somebody stole a package from a door. I don't think that every person who steals a package from the door, or any person that steals a package from a door, deserves to be in jail. But the question always comes, well, what if it's the 5th time? What if it's the 6th time? So would I have compassion for that person still? Yes, but then I have to change my position on how I feel about handling things if a person isn't able to follow through.
So it seems like you're talking about that there has to be a degree of fairness that has to be displayed with anybody that's holding that position.
Right.
So how do you plan on leading with a fair hand? Or what do you have in your past that shows that you lead with a fair hand?
I think what I have in my past is the way I've controlled myself in the courtroom, how I've handled myself in the courtroom. No one has ever been able to say that I did anything untoward in the courtroom, that I hid anything, that I did anything against the rules in the courtroom. I've always followed the rules and went as far as I could go to defend my clients. And I would follow the rules and go as far as I can go to do the best that I can for each individual person. I also think, today I was in court and everybody who was coming up on the screen was in an orange jumpsuit. And first, I hate that judges were seeing the people in a screen, because I don't think you really get to see who those people are, because then all you see is a guy in an orange jumpsuit, and you make decisions based on a guy in an orange jumpsuit instead of a decision based on everything else I just told you about him. This guy is a married man, never been in trouble before, 45 years old, whatever it is. And I think that judges can lose sight of that when they're looking at people on a TV screen in courtrooms instead of seeing them in front of them. It just makes a big difference.
Okay, so Belinda Queen is pointing out, she is saying that as a prosecutor, she is limited, but as a judge, she'll have a final decision. And I understand her saying that. My question, Belinda, was about not taking a position, because that is part of the challenge. You know me in the union thing. It doesn't matter. I'm one of those ones where people say if the head's not right, the body can't be right. I'm always the one to disagree with that, because I got to take care of what your girl Tasha can take care of. O.T. Kanye also said that being a judge gives her the ultimate authority to give justice. As an assistant state's attorney have the authority to make their own decision. Is that doesn't? He put a typo in there. OT, I don't know. You said doesn't get to make their own decision. I guess you're talking about the state's attorney doesn't get to make their own decision. He said he had a typo there. Okay. Yeah. Bill Massey said, thank you for taking that approach. So with all of that,
let me just say this. The bottom line is, it's just something I didn't want it. I didn't like it. I wouldn't like it. And I just didn't want to do it. So you can call it maybe not stomaching it was bad phrasing. I just didn't want to be the person prosecuting right now as the way the system is.
Okay, so if we look at it on the flip side, because your girl Tasha is good to do half full, half empty, she's saying she don't want to be somebody's puppet. How about that? Okay, I can flip it, but I know that there's some people out there that aren't able to flip it. So think about it in both ways.
Okay.
Now, can you share with us, basically, what has been some bad experiences that you have felt when you've been in the courtroom, and how do those experiences impact the way that you want people to feel when they leave out of your courtroom?
Okay. I really want, if I were a judge, I would want, or when I'm a judge, I want everybody to feel, even when before they're going in there, that they say, you know what, no matter what happens in here, I know she was fair and compassionate and I was heard. Because I think a lot of people just don't feel heard. I don't know if that means slowing things down so people are hurt, because they're just moving things along. They just want to get through the calendar. Sometimes people just want to be heard. And I think that that's what's important. People want to feel like they were heard, that people were compassionate, and I would do that and be fair.
Okay, and being compassionate and being heard don't mean that you're going to get off. Okay.
It doesn't mean that you get to murder somebody and go home. It doesn't mean that.
OT said he wants you to know is that that your phrase was not a bad phrase. You were just speaking from the way that you felt. Okay. Now, back to reminders about voting, guys. Again, we have the early voting taking place Thursday, April the 16th, 2020, up until April the 23rd, 2020, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's still time to go on the Maryland election website and apply to be a election judge or chief judge, okay? Is a very educational experience, okay? And the primary election is on April the 28th, 2020, from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m.
Could I just say quickly?
I'm gonna get you to give them a final statement, but I have another question too. Something that I saw on one of your Facebook pages.
Mm-hmm.
You spotlighted a quote from Martin Luther King, where he stated, "Use me, God, show me how to take who I am, who I want to be, and what I can do, and use it for a purpose greater than myself." What does that quote from Martin Luther King mean for you?
That I want, that this is not about me. That what I want, the reason I want to be a judge is really not about Gladys being a judge, is what I can do as a judge. And that's what I want to do. That's how, and it's a perfect prayer. I actually put that prayer in my prayer closet and just used it as a prayer.
Okay.
So.
And now the last thing is that anything that you feel that wasn't shared, go ahead and take a moment and also tell the people again why it is that they should cast you're the best candidate to have one of those seats.
One, I wanted to remind people to go to my website, GladysWeatherspoon.com. If you can't give a dime, give your time. We're going to need people at the polls. There are over 200 polls. We need people there. If you can give a dime, great. We need the help to get my message out to the community. And really, I have 25 years of experience of fighting injustice. I have integrity. I'm a fair person. I have compassion. You will not find a client, whatever you hear about me, what you won't hear is that I didn't do my best. And I will continue to do my best in this race. I will continue. I'm still working, and I continue doing my best in court, and I will continue to do my best if given the opportunity to be a judge. So go vote. Go register to vote. Go help us. Please come up and help us. You can call us. You can email us. You can text me. You can send me a message through Facebook. Just give me a call and say, this is what I can do. We need people to make phone calls. We're starting to door knock. You want a different kind of judge. You don't want the same old judge that's been appointed with just a different name every single time. It's time for a change. So let's get it. Let's do it.
So tell them how they find you on Facebook, any social media you have.
So Facebook, I'm actually Gladys W. Spoon. I don't know why I didn't change it, but it's just Gladys W/Spoon. You can go to Friends of Gladys Weatherspoon. Even if you sent me a message on Instagram, is Friends of Gladys, is Vote for Gladys. Gladys for Judge. On Twitter is Gladys for Judge. You can call me at 301-358-0505. You can send me a message at Friends of Gladys Weatherspoon. Gladys at Friends of Gladys Weatherspoon. You can find me. If you want to find me, I'm easily found these days. So
and
you
do
can
you have
find
any
me.
upcoming events?
And I have an event on March the 21st. I'm actually doing a Know Your Rights seminar on March the 14th. We have a fundraiser, and you can find all of that. I usually put it up as it's coming up on my webpage and on my Facebook page.
And she'll also go into the comments and drop that information too. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming in and
thank
sharing
you
so
so
people
much,
can know
Tasha.
you.
Appreciate you.
I'm gonna tell you, this whole thing, I want you to think about it, because I got a lot of people, because I had another candidate from another county here last week, but I got a lot of people who expressed that they just believe that the sitting and the appointed judges are just should be there, and people should not challenge them, okay? They should not challenge them. Mm-hmm. Why is it that you put your eggs in the same basket that someone else is more qualified to determine whether or not someone has the right experience? Is that because you're being lazy and you're not able to do the research and become educated? You really need to think about that. And with that being said, guys, I am not here next week because I will be out of town. So I'll see you on the next one, and make sure you share and invite, share and invite, share and invite. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
Twist. It's a sexy lady who walks around without being shady, who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist.